Nothing wrong with dancing. Part of our culture. No age rotating, no. Don't let the devil tempt you. Christian from the Caribbean and music is a part of our life. Yeah, we dance and raise flag, but we represent Jesus Christ. Yeah, promote no reveling, cause the Bible don't tell me them thing is sin. Used to do them thing before, but Jesus cleansed me from deep within. So no more partying, no. No more drinking, no. Cause Jesus saved me, but me dance when the gospel hit me. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood. Don't hold me, let me dance. Don't hold me, let me dance. Oh yeah, let me dance to Jesus. Let me dance to Jesus. Yeah.
Hey, papi! No habla español.
All passengers to Caracas boarding now.
Later, Trinidad! Aye! Later, Trinidad! I see you next year. I'm flying out! Mi amigo.
Bienvenido, Señor Messenger.
For the Christmas I went down Venezuela on a mission trip, trying to take the gospel to the world. As I reach in the place, they hand me the mic to bring greetings, and this is what I said. Feliz Navidad. Mamacito, petito, 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 prientes. Feliz Navidad. To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to sing. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Hey.
All passengers to San Juan, not crazy, boarding now.
The next Christmas I went Puerto Rico on vacation. Well, yeah, going real hard. I visit a church and they hand me the mic to bring greetings, and this is what I said. Feliz Navidad. Mamacito, paquito, quitito, quito, popriente. Feliz Navidad. To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to sing. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Hey. Yes, I want to tell about Jesus. No, in Spanish. I want to tell you about Jesucristo. Jesus. No, not the one that does play football. The one who died on the cross. That one. Yeah.
All passengers to Havana boarding now.
The next Christmas I went across to Cuba with the family. I hear the place real nice. As I step off the plane, they hand me a mic to bring greetings, and this is what I said. Feliz Navidad. When this mic presents from you, I don't know the sentence. Feliz Navidad. Yeah. To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to say. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. 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 Hey, papi. I don't want no Trinidad cuisine in the Spanish country. I eat everything Spanish. Yeah, I'm telling you. I want Spanish rice, Spanish chicken, Spanish beef. Yeah, Spanish lettuce here too. Add that thing, yeah. But it's Christmas time though. What let us drink here? Or that curry here by chance?
Greetings in the wonderful name of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. We are here again today. Welcome you on Facebook. Welcome those of you on YouTube. Hear what? We want to give you a chance to share the live and allow others to come in. So we're going to run some ad. While you invite your friends, tag someone. Let them know. Youths with a difference, we are on at this very moment. We will be back.
Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood. Don't hold me, let me dance. Don't hold me, party is heavenly. Dance till your problem gone away. It's a new kind of dancing, can lead you to your healing. So get up and dance, dance your problem them away. I know you've been waiting long, but your breakthrough is today. Forget about every negative thing. Get up and dance into your blessing. It might look confusing, but it's Caribbean Christian living. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood. Don't hold me, let me dance. Don't hold me, let me dance. Oh yeah, let me dance to Jesus. Let me dance to Jesus. Oh yeah, dance to Jesus. Oh yeah, yeah. I say don't hold me, leave me, let me dance. Don't hold me, just leave me, let me dance. Let me go, let me go, let me dance. Let me go, just let me dance. Let me go, let me go, let me dance. Let me go, let me go, let me dance. Let me go, let me go, let me dance. I want to dance to Jesus, boy. Let me go, let me dance. Let me go, let me come on and dance your problem them away. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood. Caribbean Christian and dancing in my blood, my blood.
Welcome back, everyone. If you are joining us for the first time, I am Reverend Yolande, and you are tuned into Youths with a Difference. What we do, we feature the young and the young at heart in Christ on a weekly basis. We empower, we inspire, we educate, and we make a difference in the lives of others. Yes, we make a difference in the lives of others. You are with us today. We'll appreciate if you share the live. We have a wonderful program for you today. As usual, we will appreciate if you share the live. Tag someone. Like us on Facebook if you haven't done so as yet. Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, and listen. Hit that bell. Yes, hit that bell. We have a wonderful program, as I said, and we have this handsome young man before us today. And listen to me. At the end of this program, you would be empowered, you would be educated, you would be challenged to live this Christian life. You'll be challenged to walk this walk of faith. You will be challenged to give God your all, knowing very well that you cannot make it in this world, in this life, on your own. And today we have, as you see on screen, Dexter the Bellotte. I tell him, I said, Dexter, you people pronounce your name all kind of how you know. De Bellotte. He is going to fix that after I introduce him. But before I introduce him, let me tell you something about him. Dexter is a counseling psychologist and a trauma and crisis specialist. He is the clinical director and one of the founding partners of Caribbean Life Management Solutions, CLMS Limited. He has worked in the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service for over 17 years and is the author of the book Work-Related Stress in TNT Prisons. Yes, he authored the book Work-Related Stress in TNT Prisons in Trinidad and Dexter. Welcome to Youths with a Difference. It's a pleasure having you on with us today.
Yes, indeed, it is. And pleasant good evening as well to you, Reverend, and to all of our listeners and our viewers from wherever you're hailing in from this evening.
I can go on and on and say so much about you. You're a man of, you are very diverse. You do a lot, you involve a lot. Tell me, who really is Dexter de Bellotte?
Yeah, Dexter the Bellotte.
The Bellotte.
But when I think about that question is so deep, you know, when you say, who are you? You know, I could look back in my life and I could answer that question in so many ways. But firstly, it gives me the opportunity to say that I'm a child of God and I was created by God for a purpose. And that purpose that I know and my aim is to fulfill that purpose, create legacy and die empty. You know, when I look back at where this all started, it started with a home in which I remember when my father walked out, when my father left the home, for example. And I grew up in a single parent home, my mom and 3 other siblings. I remember being born at 7 months, you know, and the struggles that came throughout life. You know, when I look back, even now, at how sometimes it's as though you're born into struggle. It's as though the enemy knows where you are supposed to be or what you are supposed to become and goes ahead or back in time to stop you from fulfilling purpose before you even know what your purpose is. And I remember, you know, my mom saying to me, you know, when you was born at 7 months premature, the doctor said that you had a murmur in your heart and he wasn't sure how things would work out for you, if you would make it, and all these things. And I look back now, I could stand and say, thank God, I don't have any problems with my heart. You know, and so I believe that my life is filled of testimonies of the goodness of God, even when I rejected him and didn't want him in my life. And let me fast forward to age 14.
Yes.
I sat home one day and I just got this urge to serve Christ. At 14 years.
Just like that.
Just like that. I just get this urge. I just want to serve God. I mean, I didn't grow up going to church that much, but, you know, I would go VBS. And so I was exposed to the church life and to Christianity. But that urge, that wanting to, I remember going in, and, you know, I didn't really have much money. So I would walk part of the way and then I would travel the rest. And I remember the first time I set foot in the church, I started to speak in tongues. As soon as I stepped in the church, I started to speak in tongues. And, you know, I was, you know, into this. I felt the Holy Spirit. I still didn't know what the Holy Spirit was. This was new to me. But I felt something different. I felt God. And I went religiously for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so. And then I sat down a day and I say, but God, I ain't ready for this. I ain't ready for this life where I ain't have no girlfriend yet. You know, I ain't go no party as yet. I ain't enjoy life as yet. I don't want to tie down myself for this Christianity God thing. And it was as though, you know, you just feel when current go, it is just like if you unplug a television.
Yes.
That's what it felt like. Like all the current, all the energy, all the power I was feeling it just disappeared. It just disappeared. And that was the beginning of struggle for me, I believe. It wasn't the beginning of the struggle, but it really solidified how and the road that I had to take to come full circle. Life was hard growing up. Life was tough. I'm growing with a single parent home where, you know, my mother, the only breadwinner of the house, and she was constantly working. And, you know, being the second of 4, you know, I took up a responsibility to help to a large extent. And I would find myself coming home from school, having to fill a barrel with water before I could do anything. And we were living on a hill. So you're coming home, you have to go pick up your siblings in their various schools. Then,
what number were you? Eldest?
No, I was the second of 4.
Second of 4?
Yeah, the second of 4.
Right.
And so, my older brother, he was going through his own, that adolescent phase, you know how it is.
Yes.
He was dealing with his own challenges at that point in time. And so he chose to be the one who would be out of the home, and, you know, and I would be the one to stay. I would stay. and do these things. It so happened that, you know, you have one shirt, one pants, one school shoe, and every time you come home from school, you have to wash that shirt.
Wow, yes.
You know, and you know, sometimes the school I went to, the shirt was white,
You
and
have to
so
wash it every day.
you had to wash it every day. But by then, it get yellow,
Yes.
so you have to buy the blue. And I don't know if people just do that still. You have to put the blue in the water and put the shirt in it. And there are times when
People still do. Yeah.
okay, yeah, and there are times when you would put so much blue that when you're done iron your clothes, the white shirt blue, right?
Wow.
Yeah, but nonetheless, you know, it was difficult because by the time I finish, prepare everybody for, you know, like everybody do the homework and all these things.
You
I
have to do.
basically tired.
Yes.
And so, and apart from that, even when I go to school, I had problems focusing and functioning in school.
Tired.
I was, well, apart from being tired, I believe that I was having troubles connecting with the schoolwork. I wasn't disrespectful in school. I wasn't no troublemaker. But I remember day at Parents' Day, my teacher said to my mom, take him out of school. He ain't learning nothing. Dexter learning nothing. Let him come out of school and go and learn a trade. And you know, I stand here today and I am saying,
The teacher said to your mother,
yeah,
take him out of school. He isn't doing anything.
yeah, let him go and learn a trade.
How you felt?
Well, at that point in time,
those discouraging words.
well, at that point in time, it wasn't discouraging. At that point in time, I was like, well, if that is what I want to do, well,
so be it.
All right. Because when we look at life through the adolescent eyes, I think sometimes we are unfair to the adolescent youth.
Yes.
Because we expect them to think with a developed brain, but your brain don't develop until you reach 25, 28 years or so.
Right.
And so the adolescent child would look mature and look like the big, but they're not, they're still a child. And so it's easy. A lot of youths now, we hear them say, well, I want to drop out of school and learn a trade. How could you learn a trade if you can't read and write and do maths and spell? You can't. And so I want to submit for the teachers as well, and for the persons who are educators listening. It's not a quick fix to say, well, take them out of school and let them go and learn a trade. That's not a solution. Because
That's right.
The children need the education in order to do the trade. So it's better to say, let's find alternative ways for him to learn, rather than saying, take him out of school. Because that was my fate. And I'm here today sitting with a bachelor's and a master's degree. And I'm not boasting on it, but I'm sitting with a master's and a bachelor's degree.
Excellent testimony.
After the school saying, take him out of school, he's not learning nothing, he's wasting all your time. And sometimes we give up on our young males too quick.
Yes.
And
tell me something. Why did you choose a career as a prison officer? You know, listen to your background and, you know, the cares of helping your mother with younger ones, you know, and by the time you finish, you can't hardly do anything for yourself. What made you choose that career, a prison officer?
Yeah, very, very valid question. I think it was a process of elimination, given what I had to work with. And it's something that I calculated while I was in Form 5. And let me say this, when I went to school, one of the things that I could attribute a lot of my steering me out of trouble, I ascribed that to the cadet force. And I always big up the Trinidad and Tobago cadet force at that time.
Okay.
Because when I joined secondary school, I joined the cadet force and I got a place to belong. I found a place that when the adolescent youth is looking for identity, when the adolescent youth is looking for a place to belong to find that identity, to
Yes.
find out who am I in this world, and to cycle through different identities until they choose one. I chose the cadet force. I always like uniform. I always like psychology as well. And I would look at these television movies like many young children do, and they look at the army and they look at the police and all things.
Yes. Yes.
And while I went through the cadet force, I learned discipline. I learned to be more disciplined. I learned the teamwork. I learned the aim and purpose of drill, and the things we do is teamwork. I learned to operate in a team, and it gave me a foundation, a military foundation, and a platform to work on, to stand on. And that became part of the identity that I took. So I knew, based on my social or economic standing and the standard of my home at the point in time, I knew that I needed to get out of that life. I want to come out of that kind of poverty life, that life where you're dependent. And I thought to myself two things: one, education, and two, a stable job. And most of the times, you're in the cadet force, persons may expect you to go into the army. I remember having a major at one point when I was almost ready to write CXC. And he said, well, as soon as you finish CXC, we could organize, and you will enroll, you will try to get in, you would apply to the army. And I said to him, no, I don't want to go in the army.
To me, that was a strange answer, because most people in the cadet force eventually end up in the army, out of all the different services. Correct. They end up in the army. So I'm listening to you while you are talking and say, but he was in the cadet. In my mind, he ended up as a prison officer, So that's where you didn't want to, you had no interest in being in the army.
Yeah. Why? Because I would have spent so many years in the cadet force that I felt the army was not a challenge for me. I didn't see what I felt inside of me, and I didn't know was the Holy Spirit prompting the direction. But I told him, I said, I don't see myself in the army. He said, so where you will go? And I told him, I'll go into prison. And that man was so vexed with me. He was so angry with me, because the culture is cadet force.
Yes, he had that interest in you.
Exactly.
And your interest was elsewhere.
Yeah, and I said no. And so he really scolded me. Say, well, he doesn't want nothing good. Look at the thing I don't organizing. We will organize, and everybody will go in and thing and do your exam and whatever. Yes. And he said, oh, you check that, well, whatever. I said, well, so all due respect, I don't mean anything bad, but I think I know what I want and don't want as a career for me.
Definitely.
And I thank God, because something that I always say, I call it the one pull experience. I think it's a fitting time to say that. I remember years after I wrote CXC, and I decided, well, the opportunity came, and I went for to get enrolled in the prison service, for example. I had already gone through some of the things, and I was just waiting for a call. And I remember one day I down the hill in the river, liming with some partners, and they took out a joint, and they started to smoke. And I'm standing there, and they passing, all pass, and it reached my turn, and I say, nah, fellas, I didn't be on them thing. I'll do all the thing, but leave me out of it.
You bypassed it.
And they started to take, they take on me. They start to quarrel, they start to think, who you feel is, you feel better than me. Yeah, And I say, you know what? If there's Wale getting on with, boy, I going home, yes. And there was a point in the conversation where, while they were talking to me, and the peer pressure that comes sometimes in these circles we expose ourselves to, I almost take a pull in. There are times I almost say, well, just give me it. And then again, I say, nah, you see that? I going home. Let me leave all in. And I went home, and as soon as I walk in the house, the phone ring. Guess who was calling? The officer
Prison
from the
service?
prison service
From?
was calling to
Wow.
say
Wow.
that you've been accepted, and we needed to come in for medical. And I hope you're not on no drugs, because you had to
Look
do a
at
drug
that.
test.
Look at that.
And them days it had no decriminalization of marijuana is out one time. And so I call that the one pull experience, because a lot of the times it may not be a joint, but what your one pull experience may be, that one thing that once you do it, does it. Sometimes it's taking a ride and you jump in the car because they tell you, let me go for a drive, and you end up in a robbery.
Yes.
And you didn't know
yes.
anything, but you end up incarcerated. Sometimes it's the one drink that you wasn't supposed to take, the one mistake.
Yes. Yes.
And so, I want to submit that. Be careful of the one pull experience. The enemy just try so much just to get at you. And it is
To be
so
hooked.
easy to fall victim to it. Yeah. And so as we went through that, I'm channeling now, I'm in the prison service. And when I left school with 3 O-level passes.
Okay.
And that was an accomplishment for me, because I remember the year before, my brother and I went the same school. He left school and his results wasn't so good. And
so you
we were
felt
just
good about yours.
well, we were just a year apart. So
Right.
when he got his results, I was in Form 4 getting ready to do exams. And I looked at myself and I said, I don't know, I don't want to leave school in that position.
Right.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to buckle down. I had just about 6 months, or a little over 6 months, to prepare for exams. And I started to prepare. I looked at all the subjects I had and I said, you know what? I would pass 3 subjects out of this. And I looked at the 3 subjects and I went after them. And I passed all 3. When I passed all 3, I said to myself, I say, if you could pass 3 subjects in just over 6 months, what you can't do? Because I was literally failing in school. I used to come 33rd
Yes.
out of 35 children in the class.
Right.
That's second to last.
Yes.
And I was able to get 3 subjects in that short space of time. And so those 3 subjects,
You had the ability to work.
I told myself this. I remember looking at my life after that, and I said to myself, before I wrote CXC, I said, so where you going? I said, I'll go in the prison service. Prison service is 3 subjects. I will use the prison service as a stepping stone to further my education.
Right.
And I thought about the army. Why not the army? Because I just know the life, the military life. And I didn't think it would be the fit for what I thought to myself that I wanted to become.
Okay.
And, one may say you were just probably about 15 years, and that's how you were thinking. And I'm saying yes. And I ascribe that to the fact that sometimes even when we reject God, God is there with us still.
Yes.
The Holy Spirit said he will never leave us nor forsake us. And I remember that at age 14, when I gave my life to Christ, when I went in the church. Although I said, God, I'm not ready for this, I don't want this, God never left me. And I'll tell you something, I'll give you a side testimony. There were many times when I almost lost my life. And the Holy Spirit will say to me, move. Like this one time, I was going to pick up my younger sister from primary school. And I heard a voice. Those days we call in the Holy Spirit something. Something
Right.
tell me.
Something
And
tell me, yes.
Yeah, something tell me. Go past there, leave the street now and go back on the main road.
Right.
And because I was accustomed to the voice that I heard, I did just that. I came off the street, I went on the main road, and when I was coming back, usually when I come down the street, there's a particular place I would sit on a culvert and
wait.
take a little rest and relax and kill some time. I saw a car plat up right off on that culvert. And when I was going back up, and I said, imagine if I didn't go so, I would have been sitting down there when that car rolled inside of that place.
Yes, yes.
And you see, when I think about Dexter the Bellotte, I see where sometimes we could, if we don't look deep enough, we could miss God in our lives, and when he interjects and intervenes in our lives, and we could just bypass it and call it luck, and we could call it, oh good, a good thing boy, you know. And I
We like
thank
to
God.
say that it's a good thing, it's a good thing.
Yeah. And so that's how I really joined the prison service, and that's how I would have gotten to the place where I was able to leave school with 3 subjects, and I joined the prison service. When I got in the service, I was the youngest in my batch. And the thing about it is, I knew that when I joined the prison, that wasn't all for me.
You wanted to go further.
Yeah. And you know, it's a good time to ask the persons listening, who are you? It's a question I ask a lot of my clients all the time. Who are you?
Okay.
Because who I am is responsible for what I'm going to become and the legacy I'm going to leave.
Definitely.
And if I don't know who I am, then I could be doing all sorts of things. And I could be doing all sorts of things that is not in alignment with why I was created.
That's right. And the same question was asked to you this evening, not knowing that, you know, you asked the same question to others.
Indeed.
You know?
Indeed. And so when I look at it now, I joined the prison service, and life was hard. I wrote this book, Work-Related Stress in T&T Prisons, but the struggles, listen.
And before I go there, let me ask you the question. What prompted you to write this book? Before you answer, let me just say this. NALIS, our National Library, normally have an event called First Time Authors.
Yeah.
Most of the time, you look at these authors are females.
Yeah.
And I look at you as a young man, and I say, wow, a young male, and he's writing. And I felt good about that, a young male as an author. Most of the time you see first-time authors, or we see authors from this part of the globe is female. Women mostly take up the challenge of writing or writing books. So I asked myself, and I'm going to ask you a question, what prompted you to write this book? Because I kind of go through the book, you know, what I could have gone through on Amazon, because I haven't received a physical copy as yet, but Amazon helped me a lot, because I know what to search for, how to search to get what I want to get, you know, because coming out of my working background, you know. So I look at this, I say, wow. And I was really taken back, because I think this is an excellent piece of work.
Thank you.
This book. So coming back to the question, what prompted you to write this book? It's deep.
Yeah. Thank you. And indeed, you know, well, let me give NALIS some thanks as well, because I was awarded Author of the Month of June in 2020 when the book was published by NALIS.
Excellent.
And I am part of the First Time Authors program.
Excellent.
As part of the First Time Authors program.
And when I joined, I know I'm late, but I'm going to be part of the First Time Authors also. And I know I'm late. I could have been earlier, especially, I mean, you're in the field of books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But never too late.
Indeed. Yeah. And so true, because I remember when I joined the prison, I knew that, remember, my plan was a stepping stone to where I really needed to be, where I wanted to be. And I always wanted to be a counselor. And so I laid a course down. I only had 3 subjects. I needed 5 to even begin to qualify for tertiary education.
Yes.
So I did just that. I went back to continuation classes, evening classes, and I went to get maths and another subject. I think I did social studies or something like that, to make up the 5 subjects just to qualify. To
and
be
maths is one of the subjects that, you know, that is required.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so that's what I did. I went back to school. It took me about 2 years. I think the first time I failed maths, and then the second time I passed it. And I want to tell persons as well, hey, don't stop.
Don't give
You
up.
know, don't give up.
Yeah.
Because where I came from, I remember when I left school, I used to work transport for Bhagwan Singh. Not for Bhagwan Singh, by Bhagwan Singh hardware with a neighbor of mine. And he had gotten laid off and he bought a truck. And I used to with him and we stand up outside Bhagwan Singh. And as persons come in, they're asking, you want transport? Would you like transport? You need transport today? And sometimes
it was like a hustle.
Yeah. And listen, sometimes you stand up the whole week and you get nothing, you know.
Nothing, a hustle.
Nothing, yeah, it's a hustle. You ain't get nothing. I remember even before that, I had just left school and I got a yard boy job in Curep by some Spanish people. And I go on there to work. And you know, sometimes you have some kind of experiences that could show you off your game and make you feel like the world is such a cold, harsh place. You know, one of the first things I had to do, you know, I remember the boss lady told me to go up on the mango tree and pick some Julie for her. So some Julie mangoes.
Okay.
So I climb up the tree and I picking all the hard, nice Julie mangoes, but this lady underneath the tree picking up all the rotten mango on the ground. And when I came down off the tree, she took the bag of mangoes that I handed her, and she handed me the mangoes that was on the ground. And I told her, "No, it's all right. I don't want it. It's okay."
Yes.
You know, and you know that was one of my first experiences with the world of work. You know, I now leave school, and I was happy to get a little job, and that was one of my experiences. I was like, why she couldn't give me 2 of the mangoes from the good bag, you know, but she gave me the rotten one. That hit me for a while because I was trying to understand. I said, I would never do this.
She was giving you what she did not want.
Yeah, but it taught me something. It taught me something. She wasn't obligated to give it to me.
Right.
And sometimes we could develop a behavior of entitlement.
Okay.
All right.
Point.
And it's easy to say, but why you didn't, and why you couldn't give me, and why you couldn't, and why you couldn't. And when we look at the adolescent mind at that age, I was probably just about a little over, probably 17, 18 years, somewhere there. Our minds don't fully develop. That part of our brain that is responsible for personality development, it doesn't develop until you reach about 25, 28 years.
Okay.
You know, and it's important to know that because sometimes our expectations of our youths could be too much on them.
Yes.
Because you should know and you should do and you should, but they really and truly, they don't.
They don't.
So,
as much as they act and they look as if they know so much and they act as if they know everything. Correct. You know?
Mm-hmm.
I was going through your book and you spoke about death threats, violence, and manipulation as a prison officer. Explain some of your personal experiences and how did you resolve them? Because I know we've been hearing and seeing things on the media, on the newspaper about prison officers and the challenges that you all are faced with. And as I looked through the book, I realized you were talking about some of these same challenges. How explain some of your personal things you went through, experiences, and how did you resolve some of them?
Okay. So, you know, it's common knowledge prison officers are targeted, and, you know, many officers have been murdered over the years.
Yes.
At the hands of criminal elements. I want to go a little deeper. Now, I would have joined the prison at a time when, you know, the prison itself was quite volatile in 2006 or so. If you go back in history and you read the the newspapers, you would see, a lot of things was taking place in
Right.
that era. Being a young officer, newly married, life happened. And I mean that issues and challenges that comes with one getting married without preparation, not understanding what marriage was and is, then
Right.
going into an environment that a work environment that was very volatile, at the same time trying to find yourself and also trying to develop yourself into the person that you believe you're called to become.
Okay.
So that I was in school, I was doing my bachelor's degree, and while doing my degree, the time came to do a thesis, and I looked at all the things that I was faced with and had to overcome, so that while in the prison, the aspect of work-related stress became real to me only when I started to study, because
Only
I had
then?
only then.
Okay.
You see, the thing about men is that we tend to believe we are Superman and we don't like to be Clark Kent. So we don't complain about anything. We could ascribe an emotion of anger to many things.
Yes.
But when it comes to naturally how I feel, I don't ever want to appear weak, is what many men say to themselves. I don't want to appear
Right.
weak. So even if I'm affected by my work, I wouldn't show it. I would keep it to myself. In fact, that's the reason why a lot of men, you hear the stories. Man had died with stage 4 cancer. He knew
Yeah.
when he had stage 1 cancer. He knew. He never told anybody.
Right.
When it developed into stage 4 and he had to be hospitalized, then everybody found out.
Right. Right.
And so
Wow.
I was victim of that because I was dealing with issues, work-related issues, and I spoke about it in the book, that funnels itself in life, whether you like it or not,
Or not. Yes.
right? And the stress of being in an environment that is stressful, a work environment that is stressful. And I'm
Yes.
saying that because a lot of persons miss the meaning of the book because they see work-related stress in T&T prisons and say, nah, that is not for me, that is just about the jail.
Yes.
But the jail, why I named the book Work-Related Stress in T&T Prisons, is because officers face so much and the public themselves do not fully understand what it truly means to be a prisons officer.
Please enlighten us.
Yeah.
Because we
And
really
so,
don't understand.
yeah. And so when you look at the aspect of work-related stress, it speaks to everybody who works and
Yes.
is affected by the work itself,
Right.
right? And so one of the things that stood out for me, navigating issues of stress that I was faced with at work and leaving it on work. A lot of persons would say that, boy, when you come to work, leave the work on the work and go home. But on the heels of officers being murdered, for example,
Yes.
right, you have to remain alert, which in a psychological sense is known as hypersensitivity. So that a car may appear to be following you for 3
Right.
blocks, 4 blocks, and now anxiety increases because
Wow.
I don't know who is that behind me. And so you would reach home, you might pass your house street, you might circle 3-4 times, and then
Yes.
come back
Yes.
just to see if the car following you. But that does something to the human body. And so it's difficult for a prisons officer to leave the work home. Leave the work on work and go
And then
home.
you have to be using all your mirrors.
Yeah.
I always tell people I use all of my mirrors, all. Because it's really good to know who's behind you, how long they are behind you, if they have an opportunity to move away, and they are not. We have to be so kind of observant,
Yeah.
especially
But
such a time like this.
yeah. But that in itself is what causes distress as well.
Yes, yes.
Because we are aroused. Hyper arousal is the fact that, you know what, we tend to see everything as a possible threat. So the car behind is a
You're
threat.
correct.
The noise that you now hear outside, the fruit falling from the tree.
The shadow that pass you.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so when you have, for example, you look at servicemen, you could probably make them out. You can make us out easily. A lot of persons are able to see. We don't ever sit with our back facing any door. For example.
I remember my daughter telling me, not cutting you.
Yeah.
Anywhere you at, never sit with your back facing the door. I remember my daughter telling me this some years now, and I always practice it.
Yeah.
Don't sit with your back facing the door.
Yeah. And you know, when you look at what all of that does, it takes work to be a frontline worker.
Correct.
Because you're telling me look on the work, let the stress stay on work, but when I leave work, I have to use the skills that I've learned from work to survive on the outside.
Yes.
And if you don't practice that, you may be at greater risk, one. And when you practice it, it has the potential to have an effect on you if you are not aware of what it can do to you. And so I found myself having a lot of issues in my marriage at that point in time. A lot of issues with anger.
Yes.
A lot of issues with just dealing with the transition. I would come home. I don't want to speak to you. I don't want to tell you how my day was.
Battles.
How was work? Work was work. And that's it. You don't need to know how work was. Work was work. And sometimes let's remember that there are female frontline workers, there are female prison officers, police, fire, all these things.
Definitely, yes.
And so that the issue only flips the script when it's a different sex, right? So that in cases, wives feel like victims of being with a serviceman, and in some cases, the men feel like victims of being with a servicewoman. And I use the word victims because sometimes we don't understand how work stress, the stress from being in this place of service could affect our significant others.
To me, with your prison officers, just leaving on the job and sometimes walking across to the car park, sometimes I try to get into your minds, you know, honestly.
Yeah.
How you will think, how you will feel, how you go about your daily life, because it's a highly stressful job, especially now, you know?
Yeah. And I made mention of something in my book. It's a condition that I coined the hardened heart. As victim of that. And it again, let me make this disclaimer here. This is not just prisoner. I'm speaking it's not just prison. It's not just a prison officer.
When you talk about the hardened heart?
Yes, when I talk about the hardened heart, I'm speaking.
I was wondering.
Yeah, I'm speaking to frontline workers, especially persons who, the nurses, doctors, policemen, firemen, soldiers, Coast Guard, and let me go a little further, ambulance workers.
Yes.
Let me go a little further, undertakers. The aspect of trauma, vicarious trauma, issues with stress, work stress. These things create such an effect on an individual. It has the potential to put you in such a state that the only time you realize what's taken when the doctor say you have diabetes, you have high cholesterol, you need a triple bypass surgery, your heart in trouble. You know you had a heart attack and you didn't know it.
A lot of people now.
Yeah. And so when I speak to work-related stress in T&T prisons, I'm really speaking about work-related stress in T&T.
I was telling someone this. He wrote this book, but it's not only to prison officers, because when you look at police officers, it's a highly stressed job also.
Yeah.
You look at nurses and doctors, highly stressed job. And I say, but this book could fit in so many different areas to so many people, not only locally.
Yeah.
Correct.
Because I did research. I conducted research in the prison service on work-related stress among within the Trinidad and Tobago prison service. And that's why I dedicated it to the prisons, because of the research that was done. And let me say this. I don't want to veer off topic, but let me say this, that the research that was found in relation to work stress is that today it is showing itself through cardiovascular diseases and other stress-related illnesses. For example, I did a research on 257 prison officers.
Right.
And within that population of 257 officers, it was discovered that more than 90% of the officers were already suffering from one or more stress-related cardiovascular diseases.
Not good at all. Not good at all.
And the thing about that is, it is also backed by international research that says that the life expectancy of a prison officer is 59 years.
Behave yourself. 59 years.
Yes, and what makes it even worse is we start getting pension at what age?
60?
65, I think it
65,
is. I think it's 65.
65, yes. 65.
And that was startling to me, because initially I was just in this to finish my thesis and do a booklet and call a George and get my bachelor's. When I got the information, I said, I can't just it would be remiss of me to just do a pamphlet and hand it out. This is a serious issue.
Correct.
And time again, we continue to see officers die. We look at our retirees, we see retirees die at a very young, and I'm saying young because if you retire at 5 or 60, then you barely live 5 years, you barely live 10 years, and then you're suffering from a chronic illness.
Well, some people just retire and die.
Yeah.
I have a friend.
I've had that experience.
He retired. He was supposed to retire, I think, the June month, and he died May month.
Wow.
You understand? He didn't get a chance to really enjoy no part of his retirement.
Yeah. And it's so serious, and sometimes we take light of it. I ask the question, have you been diagnosed with any of the following stress-related medical conditions after joining the prison service? And there's a question I would ask to the fire service, the police service, the army, the Coast Guard. Have you been diagnosed with any after joining? Out of 257 officers at the time of this research, and it's in the book, it was a multiple response question. It had 389 responses, which meant that some persons had more
than one. Wow.
And out of 247, remember, this is not a think I have, this is diagnosed cardiovascular and heart disease, 14 persons out of 257. Chronic fatigue, 43. Sleep problems, 103. High blood pressure, 65. Eating disorders, 95. Migraines, 42. Diagnosed alcoholics, 24. And the other category stood as acid reflux and those type of
And different
smaller,
things.
peptic ulcers and acid reflux, and three persons. 257. And if we look at that, that is startling statistics. When I saw that,
It
I
is.
said, I have to do something more about it.
Definitely. Now tell me something. I know we are talking about all the stress that is related to the job.
Yeah.
Give me some positive attributes of being a prison officer. I'm gonna come back to your book to your book. Give me some positive attributes of being a prison officer, and you can also give me some negative attributes. But I like to take the positive first.
Okay. You know, I looked at, I think I could put it very, very, very clearly. When I
Yes.
dedicated the book, I dedicated the book to the prison officers in Trinidad and Tobago. And let me tell you why it would be best of me to just read this, because it answers your question. The book is dedicated to the hard-working members of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. So the
Okay.
first quality is hardworking, because we are.
Yes.
How many persons are willing to work in the prison? How many persons are willing to do what prisons officers do?
Yes.
Words cannot express the gratitude owed to each of you for sacrifices you make daily to protect society. Every day,
Wow.
prisons officers, whether they are loved, unloved, liked, we face the prison. We keep
Yes.
inmates, we keep society safe. A lot of persons may not want to accept that. In fact, I remember hearing when I remember going in clinics and in certain social settings with inmates, and the statement is, look at what they're doing, the poor prisoner. Are they too wicked? You know,
Wow.
we live in a society, and I wrote it in the book, where prisons officers, you hardly ever see them in uniform. You could barely wear a uniform in public because you're a target.
So you all
And
are allowed to go on the job without uniform and then change.
well, if you're coming in uniform, you're coming full uniform, and if not, you're coming plain clothes and change, yeah.
Right.
But generally, like how you would see a fire officer or a police outside in the public in uniform, you would hardly see that for
You
prisons
know,
officers.
you are saying this now and looking back now, really and truly, now you're making an excellent point. You really hardly see them wearing uniforms now.
Yeah,
Really thinking about it, you know.
yeah.
Give me
And I
some negatives attributes of the of being a prison officer.
yeah. I think if I'm to pinpoint one of the negative attributes is that in some cases we could be our own worst enemy. And I say that because of the amount of officers who would have either been charged or convicted of nefarious
Oh,
activities like trafficking and
okay,
things like that.
okay,
And
right.
I think that puts a damper on what prison officers really stand for and are. Because,
Right.
trafficking in itself is in the minority. And prisons officers, generally take an oath and really carry out a function that society doesn't want to.
Right.
And we do it, and it is done. How many, I mean, we hear about escapes, yes, but how many escapes do we really hear about?
True. True.
And we hear about the rehabilitation of inmates, and we hear about all these things that's taking place within walls.
No, I know the job is very demanding.
Yeah.
It's high at risk. But do you think that poor compensation has an effect on the day-to-day performance of a prison officer? Because it's one thing to be very stressful in a stressful atmosphere, and then your compensation, if you think that it is poor, do you think that will have an effect, a negative effect on the day-to-day performance of a prison officer?
You know,
Talk to
that
me.
question, that's a very good question, but that question in itself is actually a positive when you look at it, because it would have poor compensation, does have an effect on all employees,
Yes.
but it may affect the morale of the officer, but the function continues to be. The function to keep society safe continues in spite
Right.
of not liking the compensation package or wanting more money. The function continues to be done. And that in itself is enough to praise the officer for the
Yes.
fact that although this is the case, or although you may feel like this, you still continue to, and let me say this, in the dedication, I said, I take this opportunity to commend each of you for your selfless loyalty to such a noble but thankless profession.
Right.
And I said thankless because if you really sit and think about how society treats its prisons officers,
Yes.
how Trinidad and Tobago generally treats its prisons officers, it feels like a thankless profession.
Do you think it's only prison officers? Maybe the
No, it may
police
not.
officer might say the same thing. The
Exactly.
I look at the outside world. I look at, for instance, the United States of America, how they treat their veterans,
Yeah.
how they treat people who, their army people, people in their service people. And man, they have things that are
They want to be
set
part
out
of.
for
Yeah.
them. Huh?
Yeah.
Even
Is that? Yeah.
until death.
Yes. Correct. Correct.
They always show them that sort of respect. And to be honest with you, I would like to see that same thing being implemented in
Yeah.
our society.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
you see, a lot of training is required because a lot of persons, if we go on the psychological end of it, work stress has the potential to affect a lot of things within the working environment, organizational stresses. It have the whole issue with death threats and violence and shift work and
Yes.
overtime, the effects on family and all these things. It has psychosocial effects.
How you treated that personally? I want to know, have you been ever given a death threat, or have you ever, any line of duty, go on near to it, where
Well,
you
I mean,
just scare,
once,
whisper, because within the book, I think you have something
yeah, I have
about
it.
that.
Yes,
If you don't want to speak about it, it's
yeah,
okay with,
I would prefer not to. It is in the book, and if you want to
right.
know about it, you can
Read the
get the
book.
book. But
I understand.
but what I would say is, once you're a prisons officer, you get threats.
You get threats.
Yeah, it's not. It's like it happens.
I remember when two brothers were killed, prison
Yeah,
officers. I don't know if you remember that.
yeah, I
Few
think
years
so.
ago, two brothers.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
Has this book been recommended to the prisons authority, and have they implemented any of your recommendations?
Yes, it has. The book has been it has been endorsed by the prison authorities,
Awesome,
and
awesome, awesome.
in fact, some of the recommendations that I've made within the book, I've seen it come into fruition.
How does it make you
Upgrades.
feel?
It feels good. It feels good
Yes,
to
must.
see that, and also it's a form of encouragement to say, write these things into record. Write
Right,
books. We need, one of the things I always advocate for is culturally specific, regional and locally based research,
right.
evidence-based research.
And that brings my next question to you. Have you had the opportunity to visit any prison institutions in any first world country? In any first world country?
I've been to not with the book. Years ago, before I wrote the book, I have visited.
Yes.
I think I visited Attica Prison some years ago, and observed a first world prison and how it is run and operated from a first-hand view.
Right. And because of that, from your knowledge of let's say that foreign prison institution, what system do you think we can implement to improve the working environment for the prison officers, and not only for the prison officers, to improve the care of prisoners?
Yeah. One
Because
of the things that I would go ahead.
one of the reasons why I asked that question, I've heard this saying, people go into prison and come out worse than they went in. They went in, they probably commit an offense that may not be so, what we may deem as hardcore, and they came out and they became real hardcore criminals. So, what do you think?
You know, one of the things that I would say, firstly, is that when we look at the prison environment itself, mental health is very important. And a very strong approach to addressing mental health needs like work-related stress, vicarious trauma, post-traumatic stress disorder. These things are things that really need to be a front burner issue.
Yes.
Be a reactive issue. It should always be a front burner issue, because we continue to see where mental health is foreign countries very high. Post-traumatic stress disorder, for example, is very high among corrections officers, and in many cases higher than soldiers coming back from Iraq.
Okay.
The level of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And so that is very important, the aspect of mental health needs and addressing the mental health needs to a larger extent. I think that, and even as a psychologist, I would always endorse that to ensure that your mental health of your officers, whether it be prison, police, fire, is very important. The other thing is, because of the level of trauma that officers throughout the country have been through, I'm not only speaking to prisons here, police officers, almost every day is a murder, 500 and something plus murders for the year.
Could you imagine that?
Have an effect on persons. And sometimes in order to survive, you could very well find servicemen becoming or developing a hardened heart so they don't have to feel to deal with this next murder and this next murder and this and that. And for the undertaker who has to go and take up this imposing body, or for the ambulance worker or the fireman who have to go and cut this dead child out of a car, for example.
Yes, yes.
And so we need to look at the mental health of our frontline workers. Because if we don't, the negative effects are usually anxiety, depression, suicide, suicidal ideations, homicidal ideations, etc. Are we going to wait? Are we going to wait and be reactive? No, we cannot afford to do that. And as it relates to our inmate population, in relation to the whole aspect of work stress and things like that, I think the prison does what it can based on the resources it has.
Yes, they use
and
what
so
they
can,
what they have to get what they use what they have. Yeah.
And therefore, if I'm to advocate for something, it would be for a greater amount of resources. For example, a lot of volunteers, a greater amount of resources. In the sense that, you know, a lot of persons volunteer their time and things like that to the prison. But we also, it is also good to have paid skills within the environment.
Okay.
And you know, it's one thing to volunteer, but it's another thing because we pump the resources into things that we see as important.
Right.
Right? And for example, the aspect of the issue of trauma, crisis, marriage, and family, these are the things that are affected by work stress.
Yes.
Marriage and family. If you look into the service, in fact, if somebody does a research on the divorce rate among frontline workers,
It's
that
high.
That will be high.
It's high.
And it means, therefore, that we have what? A marriage and family issue, or even an epidemic.
Definitely. Tell me something.
Yeah.
I mean, you spent 17 years as a prison officer,
Yeah.
and as a young man, what are your coping mechanisms?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I can tell you that before I came to Christ, my coping mechanism was party, time, the occasional drink of alcohol.
Yes.
And which is something that we see quite a lot. A lot of our frontline workers and servicemen cope by using, alcohol, party, lime, and things like that. But
I wondered why at one time, but now as this conversation is taking place,
yeah,
I understand the stressfulness of the job. But this is why it's so important to know Christ.
Yeah, and I want to go there because when I started my degree, the institution that I went to, Caribbean
Nazarene. Dexter, are you hearing me? I'm not hearing you. Did you touch something?
You hear me now?
No, I'm hearing you. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Yeah. When I went to the Caribbean Nazarene College to start my bachelor's degree, I didn't really, I was still on that trajectory, not really needing God or believing that, you don't need God in anything.
Okay.
And I was handling things for me. I was going after my education, and I was going to do this. And I. And then I got into the studies, which was merged and fused with a lot of biblical studies as well. And the opportunity to go to chapel and things like that. Bit by bit, I started to get deeper and deeper into the understanding of purpose.
Right.
And when I found my purpose was when I found Christ. But still, I wasn't functioning in Christ. My coping turned into education, the pursuit of education.
Okay.
That turned into my coping because when I started my degree, I moved away from the liming and the partying and things like that, and I was focused now on getting an education.
Yes.
That
you
took
had a
all
plan.
my time. If I wasn't on work, I was in school.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And if I wasn't in school, I was home doing assignments and things like that. So I became very focused. When I channeled through my master's program and I graduated top of my class. I got best thesis award and all the other awards in the institution. Everybody was like, Dexter did so good, Dexter did so well. And I got home and I was so empty.
Empty.
I graduated with first class honors and I got home and I was empty. And At that time, that's when that voice, the Holy Spirit, said to me, you do all of this. Remember at 14 what you said?
Yes.
And I realized that I was missing the most important part of it. And my mantra, as you would see if you read my bio or my book, be the change you seek, as knowledge without God's purpose is meaningless.
I was looking at that. Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
And I went after my purpose.
Yes.
But not realizing that it was God's purpose. But all things work together for those that love the Lord. because when I completed my master's program, I got baptized, and I never looked back. I called my apostle, who's now my apostle, Dr. Shirley London, Apostle Dr. Shirley London, and I told her, I said, I just graduated with every single thing in the school, all the awards and thing, and I feel empty, and I need to be baptized.
Yes.
And I never looked back when I did that. And now today I'm Pastor Dexter the Bellotte. Being pastor in September of this year.
Congratulations.
And now, thanks.
And your wife, your dad
yes,
and wife, who celebrated a birthday on yesterday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, Camille.
Indeed, happy birthday to my sweetheart. You know, and it shows that one of the things that I would want to say as well is, in your pursuit of purpose, make sure that you're fulfilling his purpose and not yours. God's purpose and not yours.
And not yours.
And that's the mistake I made. I had to go full circle to realize that the opportunity I had at 14 to put him first as the foundation to guide everything else.
Yes.
And you know, it's in the word of God, seek ye first the kingdom.
The kingdom of God. Yes.
But I didn't seek the kingdom first. I seek
all other things.
Education and all other things.
Yeah. And a lot of young people are making that mistake, you know.
Yeah.
To end up, as you said, empty. And you know, you are blessed because that emptiness did not take you away from Christ.
Correct. Yeah.
Some of the people, young people that are going through this, the emptiness is taking them, sad to say.
Yeah, true.
The emptiness has shifted their focus totally away from Christ.
Indeed.
You know? Would you recommend a career as a prison officer to a young person now?
Yes.
You will?
Yes, I would. Yes, I would. You know, just recently I recommended a few persons to be an officer, and persons continue to inquire. Because, you know, persons may look in and say, wow, prison officer, but don't be no prison officer. But then somebody else may say, hey, it's what you make it.
Yes, yes.
There's a threat to life with being a citizen. There's a threat to life in being a police officer and all these other things. But should the fear, God didn't give us a spirit of fear.
That's right. That's
so
right.
Your decision to be a prison officer or considering a prison officer, don't make my mistake and do it thinking it's you. Seek guidance from the Holy Spirit.
Correct.
God, is this the place you want me to go? Do you want me to be an officer? Because here's what. If I had taken one pull of that marijuana that day, this book may never have come to fruition.
Right. Hold it up. Hold up the book, the cover, let us see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The light seemed to be but thinking.
All right.
Yeah. But had I, and that's the thing. The first stage is really put first.
Yes, yes.
Just imagine you were supposed to be in the prison. Could you imagine if I was supposed to be a prisons officer just to write this book?
Yes.
And I was in the army?
Man, that book is a masterpiece. It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely it is. But the stress with you all, do you see it coming out from worker to worker? The colleagues?
Okay.
Yeah. Does it show up its ugly face on the workplace with colleagues, you know?
Yeah. One of the things that I must say is that stress in itself affects all of us differently. It's not what may affect you may not affect me.
Okay.
So some officers would be in the prison and working years and may not be affected. However, some persons would. And the fact is that stress in itself shows up in different ways as well. So what may show on you because you are stressed may not be what I may show. I may internalize all my stress and drink it out when I go home.
Right.
Whereas you may come and complain and say, boy, this work is the worst, this, I can't take this, and I fed up at this, and I want to leave. You may complain about your job site. And I may say, well, I have no choice, I have to work here, so I will drink to come to work and drink to go back home, for example.
Wow.
Or I may do whatever just to make it through the day. And so you would see one of the telltale signs of work stress is in the walk.
Is in the
walk. In the walk. The walk. You look at persons coming to work in the morning.
Yes.
Or coming to work in the evening. And you see the drag, the shoulders drop, the head down.
Yes. As if they come into work looking as if they're finished
ready to go home.
And they're ready to go home.
Yeah. It's also in this in the speech. Complaints, constant complaints.
Yes.
Of all the ills and all the wrongs and all the things that is bad. It also shows itself in the relationship, the marriage, the relationship with the children, the anger.
Yes.
You know, sometimes it shows in the posting.
Yes.
You know,
I learned so much from you today because, you know, I always had the saying, I learned to leave work at home and not bring home to work. And I always, and you could, my family can attest to this, I never carried work at home. But then that was me and my surrounding. But now you are speaking and your surrounding and your job is much different.
Yeah.
So I understand what you are saying now. Sometimes, you know, you read things in the media and you see different things in the media, but unless you speak to people who are in this situation themselves, you can never really understand what they go through.
Yeah.
Really.
Correct.
You can't understand.
And you know, it also speaks volumes to that policeman who just had to do a report for a child that was murdered.
Yes.
And then goes home.
Yes.
To kiss his little child lying down.
Yes.
On the bed at home.
Yes.
The fireman who now cut a lady out of a vehicle dead and have to go home and kiss his wife and say, good night, baby. And she asks, how was work?
Yes.
And you don't know how to tell her. It speaks the near-death experience that I almost had. And I have to go home now. And he asks me, how was work? What am I to say? A lot of persons don't know. And these are some of the things that I do. When I counsel frontline workers, when I speak to frontline workers, these are some of the things that I do as a counseling psychologist. I speak to the aspect of knowing what it feels like being a frontline worker and having to go home to a dysfunctional marriage, to a marriage on the rocks, to a marriage on the verge of falling apart, to a threat that if another officer dies, I'm going to leave that job or I'm going to leave you. These are some of the real life experiences that persons go through.
I am glad you put pen to paper and write this book, because this book, I know it's a help to many and many to come, you know. Now I have your number in case people want to purchase, because I am being asked about the book even before the program began. When the flyer went out, people asking how they can get a copy of the book. Besides contacting you, where else can they purchase this book?
You can purchase the book on Amazon if you like. You can go locally. I would prefer you locally for the book to get it at a special rate.
Okay.
If you don't mind paying full price for it, then you can go to Ishmael and Cans in Twin City Mall, and I think all the other locations, and you can get the book the book there. Just ask for work-related stress in TNT prisons, and you will get it there.
Excellent piece of book, as I said. I mean, excellent, and it comes from someone, you know, someone know about the system.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, I wish that other officers from different circles, military circles, or would put pen to paper and let the public, let us understand what is going on with you all, because I get a whole different light, you know, and I know I didn't get much, but what I get to me is a lot.
Yeah.
You know, on the life of a prison officer, you know. Imagine you're going to work in the morning and your wife isn't even sure that you're gonna return.
Correct.
And you know, my mind always go back to that little child with the prison officer that was, I think it was in Shogunas, somewhere there. And she
No,
was
I think it
holding
was deep south, I think.
South, and she was holding her dad's hand. And
Yeah.
you know, this picture could never come out of my mind. That child, she just started run. She ran. And I remember this guy running, and he held on to her because she was running back to the road. That picture, you know, if people like us, the picture can't come out of our minds.
Yeah.
Much as people like you,
Yeah.
you know, and it's difficult. Tell me something. Workplace, the work prisons, they cater for you all with things like mental health and
Yeah. Well, when it comes to the prison service, they fall under the whole aspect of the, what they call it, the employee assistance program, which is government run, where they have a list of counseling providers that persons could access.
another thing
And
is if people are taking up these opportunities, if they are, you know,
yeah, that's the thing. The
using
thing
what
is one thing to say that the service should do something, but then is another for persons to recognize and accept that, hey, I may need
I
help.
need help. That's right. Correct.
And that's one of the drawbacks of you may find women may faster take up the opportunity, and a lot of men tend to wait until we reach in crisis.
It's late.
Then
Kind of late.
Then to say, hey, I need help, and sometimes by then the marriage fall apart, wife divorce, or whatever the case is, and you want to avoid that. So, you know, I want to encourage men as well, the frontline workers, men, police, fire, prisons.
Yes.
Take the time and, you know, take the help that is available.
That's right.
You know, seek help. Give me a call if you need help. Give me a call if you need help as well. A lot of men, you know, they reach out and say, hey, I'm in trouble. The other thing is, I'm currently working on another piece of another book, because this book is the only book of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean.
Right.
There's no other book like this in the English-speaking Caribbean. And I believe that there are a lot of contributions that could be made towards the whole aspect of what is culturally specific to our region.
Yes. And you know, this is a nice time to give this book as a gift. You know, to give this book as a gift. People buy all sorts of things, and you know, they hardly pay attention to books. But let me tell you something: books make excellent gifts. True. You know, work-related stress in Trinidad and Tobago prison service, excellent gift, because stress affects everyone.
Yeah.
You know, so people, you are listening to me today, and you have heard Mr. Dexter
Bellotte.
Is this French?
Yes, it's French. It's French.
Piana, that was one of it was one of my worst subjects in school. And then the French teacher was kind of lame to it, so he didn't encourage it to you know. to like French or want to learn French, you know. So if you are looking at us today and you would like to make a gift of a good book, this is a good book that you can give as a gift. Work-related stress in Trinidad and Tobago prison service, and you don't have to be a prison officer to add this to your library, your home library. You don't have to be a prison officer. Dexter, let's go online and see who's with us live. We have Susie Bass, Camille Fraser. Camille is your wife, right? She said Camille
Yes.
saying blessings to all. Blessings to you, Camille. Nice having you, Susie. June Melville, she said we did that blue thing too. Yeah, that blue thing. Put the blue in the water.
Yeah.
June is also saying the race is not for the swiftest.
True.
Socializing, etc. June is saying again, absolutely your love, absolutely love your discipline.
Indeed.
On the one that pulls experience, she said God is great. Anne
Yeah.
was saying a wonderful evening to everyone. Wonderful evening to you, Anne. We have Avian dates. She's on. She's saying correct is right. Yes, she knows what you are talking about.
Yeah.
We have Yves Bernard. Yves is saying good afternoon, everyone. You know, we had been today is our last program for the year.
Okay.
We may come on, but not in this form, you know.
Yeah.
We may come on in a different way. But this our used for a different every Saturday evening program. This is our last program. And this evening we want to do something different. We had people who really supported us during the year and even last year. And since we had been on, we had supporters and diehard supporters. And you know, I want to give out a hamper today, courtesy Bienvenido Caterers. They cater everything in line of eating, and I could say drinking. You know, they are situated at Eastern Main Road, number 2 Eastern Main Road, Laventille. And one of the things they do, if you feel like cooking for Christmas, they could do your cooking for you. They do your baking for you. They do everything in the line of Christmas preparation, food-wise, you know. So you are listening to me. You can give Bienvenido Caterers. You can give them a call at 623-4440 685-5283. And they are giving us a hamper to give out. And this hamper is going to one of our loyal online viewers today. And this hamper is going to none other. And she's on today, Susie Bass. So, Susie, you are collecting a hamper from Bienvenido Caterers. Susie, you would love that hamper. We also giving out a voucher. And this voucher is courtesy Candy Girls. Candy Girls, they are located at Shops of Arima, Tumpuna Road, Arima. Their number is 225-6677. And, you know, it's an online store also. So you can also see them on Facebook, Candy Girls online. And Candy Girls, they are giving a $300 voucher to another loyal online viewer. This person, she don't ever miss a program. And it has to be something why she's not on today. But I will give her loyal online voucher. And this person is, the word can be passed on to her, Hermione Chatterboon. Hermione, you are receiving a voucher for $300 from Candy Girls located at Shops of Arima. We giving. We have another hamper from courtesy Just Curls. Just Curls, you can find them. They make some excellent hair products. You can also find them on Instagram. And I'm going to give this hamper to the person who commented the most on the program this evening. So I'm going to look and see who commented the most on the program this evening. I'm seeing Evis is saying, I'm not saying she commented the most, she's saying, I always wondered how prison officers made out in their jobs, and it was good to get first-hand information. Sure, right. From this brother, we really need to cover you all with prayers. So correct, so correct. So she's also saying, only Jesus satisfies. Happy you found your purpose. Yes, nice. Evis is also commenting again. Good evening, everyone. Let me see. And I think when I look at the comments, I think she is the person. I see Camille once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. Camille is the person that commented the most today. So Camille, you will get a hamper, courtesy, Just Curls. You will love your hamper. Their number is 317. You could always contact me for it after. For all the information here, 317-8387, and they are on Instagram. Right? We have a beautiful sheet set. I'm going to show you all it. And this is courtesy June Melville. And this is going to another loyal online viewer. And this sheet step, we go to get John. I don't know how come Jello John is not on today, but Jello John is going to get the sheet set, flat sheet, fitted sheet, pillowcases. She's going to get that. And we have another giveaway today. Yes, we do. But this giveaway, this is courtesy. We have Nestle's Quality Street.
That's beautiful.
Lovely. This is courtesy Avion Dates. And this is going to go to the person. If you are looking, and if you are custom looking at our flyers, we bring out beautiful flyers every week for our program. Please, the first person to call me at 380-2948 and give me our tagline. We have a tagline on our flyers. The first person to call me and give me the tagline would get that gift courtesy Avion Dates. So call me. Anyone, call me, give me the tagline. The first call, and you are correct, you're going to get that. And we have a gift bag with beautiful goodies, another gift. So we have given out 6 gifts today. And the person who would get that gift bag, you have to tell me. The first person that is going to call and tell me, Youth for the Difference. We are on 2 platforms. Name the 2 platforms that we are on every Saturday at 6 p.m. I'm waiting on your call. 380-2948. 380-2948. I'm taking your call. Yes, I'm waiting. Dial that number now. No. Tell me, what 2 platforms are we on every Saturday at 6 p.m.? Come on, people. Yves, You're supposed to know where we are on every Saturday at 6 p.m. 380-2948. Susie, you're supposed to call. Call me. You need to call. Call me so I can answer your call. Call me with the answer. Susie Bass and Nero, call me with the answers. We're on 2 platforms every Saturday at 6 p.m. Which 2 platforms are we on? Right? The first person to call, and the other one, the first person to call. Beautiful flyers. We have a tagline on all our flyers. It comes on our flyer, a tagline. What's that tagline? So you all don't want me to give out these 2 gifts? Listen to me. I don't want to keep this, This one is good to see you. It's with a difference. I don't want to keep it. I don't want to keep this. I don't want to keep them. So no call is coming through. Now we are about to end the program. We went a little later, and no one has called. But guess what? I'm going to allow you to still call with the answers to whichever question you want to answer. You can still call after the program. That's fair enough. Dexter, it's been a pleasure having you in our program today. And I know when people look at this who are not on, and a lot of people look at the program after. I know when they look at it, they would say, wow, I missed this live. But it's nice to go back and see it, and you have been such a blessing to us. And I know with this book and all the things you do, you will continue to be a blessing to others. And this is what Youth with a Difference is about. Being a blessing to someone. So I want to say thank you for coming on. I do appreciate your presence with us today. I always say praying before the program, backstage is one thing, but I always like to pray with my guests at the end of the program. So I'll pray with you now. Heavenly Father, I thank you.
Yes, God.
I lift up Dexter before you, your manservant, your prophet, your priest, your king. God, I pray touch him right now from the crown of his head to the sole of his feet. All his endeavors I lift up before you, God. All his plans, God, I lift up this work of art with this book. Let this book be a tremendous blessing to many. Let this book be a soothing balm to many. Let this book be a catalyst even for change for many. God, you take control, oh God, of him and his family as he go forth into ministry. Take care of their going out and they're coming in. As he goes forth into ministry, God, help him to continue to be a force to be reckoned with, all for your kingdom, all for your glory. Recognizing, God, it's not about him, but you that making a difference in him. It's not about what he's doing, but what you are doing through him. God, continue, God, to be his source, to be his resource. Continue, oh God, to let him be that light, oh God, in this dark world. To continue to let him be, oh God, that pillar that is going to help others to stand firm, oh God, in you, and to stand firm in days when people are crumbling all around us. People who know you are crumbling. God, you take charge of every aspect of his life, work, church, every aspect. In Jesus' precious name, we won't fail to praise you, nor give you the honor and the glory. Dexter, thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
And, you have anybody you want to say hello to or shout out to?
Yes, well, of course I wanna firstly say, well, it was yesterday, but I'll take the opportunity to wish my wife happy birthday. My birthdays have to be one day alone. Happy birthday to my loving wife, Camille Fraser, the Bellotte, and my family, and I love you very much. I want to also say, Merry Christmas in advance to everyone. Remember, Christ is the reason for Christmas.
Yes.
And let's all walk in the fulfillment of the purpose that God created us for. Be the change you seek, as knowledge without God's purpose is meaningless.
Right.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You know something? No one has called in, but Dexter, I don't remember. You said you would give a book to someone.
Oh, yes.
You choose the person you want to give that book. Someone is getting one of Dexter's books free today.
That person had to call me,
Call Dexter now and listen to me. You're gonna see the number. I'm gonna put up the number. Call Dexter now to get this book. No.
Yeah. Call now. Getting a signed copy.
Yes, call now. Your signed copy of Dexter's book, Work-Related Stress in Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. What happened? These people not calling?
Like the lines down.
It seems so. You're not calling.
Oh my. Well, let's hope somebody, when they look at the record, and they call the first person to call. Well,
yes. You know
I know that somebody calling. Somebody calling.
Yes, I have to give away.
Somebody calling.
Questions.
Hello,
when you look.
Good evening. Hello. Yes, hello. Yes, it is. Yes. Yes, it is. Yes. All right. But what's your name?
We want to hear the name next, sir.
Jewel Melville just won a copy of my book. Yes, she actually called to purchase the book, and she didn't know that she was the first person to call me.
Wow! So Jewel is getting
actually won a copy of the book. So Miss Jewel Melville, I will call you back after, and we will chat. Most welcome. All right.
Congratulations to you, June, winning yourself a copy of Dexter's book, Work-Related Stress in Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service. Congratulations to all of you who have gotten your goodies and your gifts today. And listen to me, the question, go to the program, get the question, answer the question. And if you call me and it's already answered, I will tell you the question's already answered. God bless you. Love you all.
Amen.
Season greetings. Enjoy the holiday. Enjoy Christ. Keep Christ in your Christmas, people. And we will see you on the platform in this form, God's willing, next year, God's willing. So, season greetings. All the best for the Christmas and the New Year. Love you all. Love you all. Love you all. Dexter, blessings to you and your family.
Blessings to you. In Jesus'
blessings
name.
to you all. And I want to go with let me give you all some blessed messenger again. This Spanish thing with blessed messenger. You're going to go out with this. Okay, people. Blessings, everyone. Love you all. Thanks for your support, everyone.
Hey, papi. No habla español.
All passengers to Caracas boarding now.
Later, Trinidad. Aye, later, Trinidad. I see you next year. I'm flying out. Mi amigo.
Bienvenido, Señor Messenger.
For the Christmas I went down Venezuela on a mission trip, trying to take the gospel to the world. As I reach in the place, they hand me the mic to bring greetings, and this is what I said. Feliz Navidad. Mamacito, petito, 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 prientes. Feliz Navidad. To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to sing. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Hey.
All passengers to San Juan, not crazy, boarding now.
The next Christmas I went Puerto Rico on vacation. Well, yeah, going real hard. I visit a church and they hand me the mic to bring greetings, and this is what I said. Feliz Navidad. Mamacito, paquito, quitito, quito, popriente. Feliz Navidad. To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to sing. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila, Jesucristo. Baila, baila,
want to tell about Jesus. No, in Spanish. I want to tell you about Jesus Cristo. Jesus. No, not the one that does play football. The one who died on the cross. That one. Yeah.
All passengers to Havana boarding now.
The next Christmas I went across to Cuba with the family. I hear the place real nice. As I step off the plane, they hand me a mic to bring greetings. And this is what I said. Feliz Navidad.
When it's my presenters from us, I don't know the same thing.
Feliz Navidad.
To be honest, I don't know the Spanish, but somebody teach me to sing.
Baila, baila, Jesucristo. 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 Hey, papi.
When they ask me where I'm from the Caribbean, and I'm a Christian boy. Oh lad, oh lad. Nothing wrong with dancing, part of our culture. No ways rotating, no. Don't let the devil tempt you. Christian from the Caribbean, and music is a part of our life. Yeah, we dance and raise flag, but we represent Jesus Christ. Yeah, promote no reveling, cause the Bible don't tell me them thing is sin. Used to do them thing before, but Jesus cleansed me from deep within. So no more partying, no more drinking, no. Cause Jesus said